We're hot? Mm-hmm. All right. First, the sponsors. Head over to www.johnbartoloshow.com. Go check out all the sponsors. Gallo Technologies, Rhino Metals, Blackwater Ammunition, Galco Leather Holsters, for quartz and firearms, Right On Optics, and Manscaped. We just did another deal with Manscaped. They got to pay the bill, but we did another deal with them. So go check out the code and get Manscaped. Your balls will thank you. So I want to take a minute and introduce my guest. I'm excited about this. It's probably it's going to be a wild week. We got a lot of cool guests. So this is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to get into a bunch of different topics. I'm really interested in hearing his perspective on a lot of things. He's traveling all over the country. He's doing all kinds of fun shit he can talk about. He's living my dream right now. That's for damn sure. Living in the RV.
Loving it.
We got the head. I call you the head of Black Guns Matter.
Yeah.
Is that the right term?
I'm a point guard.
The point guard.
Yeah.
He's controlling the field.
Right.
The one and only Maj Toure. Did I say that right?
Yep.
I got that.
So some people go, Maj Toure?
No.
Is it Maj Toure?
No.
Yeah. You did it great though. I appreciate you, my brother.
Listen, I appreciate you for coming in.
For sure.
So first, for everybody listening, take us through kind of how Black Guns Matter became a thing.
Yeah.
Give me kind of the intro on that and where it's at right now and what you're up to.
So, in going into the 2016 elections, everybody, just like now, everybody's talking about register to vote, vote. And so, I'm not a fan of government, like, at all. Right. So, I was like, yeah, that's cool, but we need, like, I want y'all to get armed and educated and get licensed. We need a license to carry drive. And so we were like, yo, that's actually a cool idea. And so we did, it was supposed to be one event. It was going to be this one event in Philly where we were going to show people how to walk them through getting their license to carry, and what's the process, and give a small basic firearm safety class and conflict resolution. We do this event. We thought, we'll get 50 people. It was like 300 people came. People came from New York. People came from Jersey. And the light bulbs went off. We were like, yo, first of all, yeah, and you're in a whole different municipality. I can't really help you the same way. And so then we were like, yo, wouldn't it be dope if we did 13 cities like the first 13 colonies? So we threw up this GoFundMe and was like, okay, let's do 13 cities and let's raise like $25,000 and we'll give it away. And we did. And then we hit Phil from All That Remains, the rock group. Yep,
I know Phil. Yep.
He was the last $400 into our initial goal of $25,000. And we did those 13 cities, I want to say within a year. And then everybody said, you horrible piece of shit, because you never came to our town. You went to all of the horror. And we were like, yo, we just raised and gave away $25,000. We kept the classes free.
Never enough.
Right. And they were like, you're a piece of shit. And so they were like, yo, let's just go and do it some more. And we wound up doing this until a point where it was $100,000. And then small towns were like, you're a piece of shit because you only go to the cities. There's poor people or people that need this information in the rural areas. What you like, cityist? Like you like a racist just for cities? You know what I'm saying? And so we just kept going. And then after a while, we were just like, yo, man, we did a Twitter poll and was like, yo, do you guys just want us to do like $1 million goal so we can like buy a building and own it and do really cool stuff in it and all of that? And everybody like overwhelmingly was like, yes. Now I went the roundabout way of saying, that's how it started. That's how it started. Now we're here. We got the tour. We got conflict resolution. We got political education. We got basic firearm safety. And I have absolutely zero control over my life right now.
It's funny how that is.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't it crazy? You think you want something, and then you get it.
Yo, it's the craziest thing. It's like I used to live 4 blocks away from my local range. I was at the range 4 days a week. Excuse me, 4 days out of the week. Now I'm at ranges, but you're at ranges, but you can't shoot as much now.
You're busy.
You're busy, and you're teaching, and it's a good problem to have. I wouldn't dare complain. you know?
Well, sooner or later, when you have a certain degree of success in every area, you lose a little bit of touch with the ground level. I experienced that immensely through the years coming up in the firearms business, but that's every business, you know. It's hard to stay on the ground level with your fingers in everything, so it gets tough. You know, you have to kind of always every now and then check yourself and kind of go back to that ground level and kind of see how the joke is, like you see how the dishwasher does the dishes. You kind of see how everybody's doing their thing. It's always difficult whenever you're trying to reach a mass audience the way that you are right away. Yeah. Because, fuck, man, it's a lot to undertake, and you're going to make 50 mistakes before you get one right, but you got to try to limit how big those mistakes are. It's hard.
Yeah. It's hard, but it's rewarding. So, I stopped selling drugs to do this. Like, I was selling movies.
Then you started doing them while you were
right, the stress level. You know what I'm saying? Like, in the beginning, like, I ran out of money, like my own money. Like, I remember one time I was in Miami and some company said they was going to send a check and the check was late. And I was like, we were already there. And it's like, these are the ugly parts that, like, I just was in Detroit and Royce, the 5'9", said something I thought was so key. He was like, most artists will never tell you, I'm doing okay. They won't just, like, you know. And so that part of this journey was like, yo, in the beginning, like, we were helping people, but I ran out of money. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, but sometimes first of all, I'm never going to be broke again. Like, unless I, like, do a lot of cocaine in, like, Miami for a summertime.
Fentanyl.
Yeah, fentanyl. That's the way to go. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
As we'll go all the way.
Right. You'll lose it in a week. However, that lesson that came from it, the ability to be creative and the ability to, like, you know, remember, like, you're actually here to serve people. Like, earlier you said a point guard. And, you know, I said a point guard because I'm really dishing a rock to everybody else to score. We still going to win a championship. We, as a unit. The pro-gun constitution, like actual Americans, not like statists, not like bootlickers, we are actually going to win, you know, but I got to keep dishing a rock. So that was one of the biggest mistakes. Like, if to you guys that are, like, starting businesses, don't, like, try not to go broke in the beginning. Like, try that. Oof. Like, don't make that mistake. Or parlay that one a little bit down the road.
The hard part, and we talked about this a little offline, the hard part is, you know, out there in the space, I agree with you. We're going to win. And the reason we're going to win, and I brought this up the other day with Ed, is you have 5 million new gun owners, probably really like 10. Yep. Because the numbers are foggy. And if you notice, Biden hasn't brought up the numbers at all. And he's smart not to do that. Yep. And he hasn't brought up the gun thing at all. And he's smart not to do that because they don't have the data on who that is. They don't know yet. Right. It hasn't all been broken down and filtered out. And they know they can't alienate 5 million votes right off Jump Street that are new gun owners. So I think what we're heading towards is a lot of Republicans. I brought this up the other day, and I know Charlie won't agree. Certain people, there's a lot of Republicans out there that are pro-choice Republicans, okay? They believe in certain circumstances that exists, okay? I get it. I'm not here to debate that. Right. But I think what you're going to have is a lot of pro-2A Democrats.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's where this is going, and it's going to create a line. Because you know as well as I do, when people start to exercise their right to bear arms, it's not a right they tend to give back.
No, especially if you're in a demographic that – I saw a meme that said – it was funny but kind of not funny. It said, oh, you think I'm going to fight you and I just spent $600 on this Glock? Oh, you going on a T-shirt, bucko. You know what I'm saying? And saying that to say this Glock costs $6. This SIG costs, however, we ain't even get into it if you had some $1,200 money coming back from the stimulus, whatever, and you got the HK. Like, you got the fancy gun, and then here's this guy, even if you're from a traditionally Democrat-ran city, right? Here's this guy coming around saying, like, yeah, you got to turn that in essence. Nah, you're gonna.
It's not gonna happen.
No, not at all. First of all, from a financial standpoint, who are you to tell me what I can or cannot have that I paid for? I saved for this. And in the middle of COVID, where the government did so much heavy lifting for us in the freedom side of things by, like, making everything wrong as government does. They let, like, the pedophiles out of jail. They told police, you know, don't respond. Then they started to try to shut down gun stores. Right. And I finally got this blicky, and it cost me, like, all of my money. And you're telling me that I can't? The government does what it does. It made it very, very easy for us on the freedom side.
The scary thing is, especially with the gun issue, is how they've spun it, and they use certain pronouns and certain language to where they try to vilify everything. So the same way, maybe certain foods, fast food gets vilified. Everybody wants to control. And the reason the mask issue, the gun issue, these things become issues is because once the government tends to regulate, they tend to never drop that regulation.
Right.
And that's the hard part we have as Pro 2A people, helping people understand, no, we're not crazy about this. We're just trying to explain to you that when a regulation comes in, it's very rare that they say, you know what, that time passed, we're going to get rid of that. Right. It never happens.
Right.
So we try to limit that. But the scary thing is with the media is so biased, so bad, so corrupted right now. Mm-hmm. And forget about the Trumps for a minute and that type of bias. It's bias on a level that people can't even begin to comprehend. And you have a lot of people out there that they're honestly delusional, especially in Hollywood and the music game. They're completely delusional. They think they don't even understand what communism is, and they run around. And Ed and I were talking about this with, communist shirts on. They don't even know what communism is.
Sometimes, man, like we were talking off camera about, me building YouTube platform and whatever. We got comfortable with with selling merch, right? It's a cool shirt. It's like weed. It sells itself, right? Mm-hmm. But you become complacent. I think most Americans, and I'm not acting as if America's perfect. We're not. We got like some stains on our flag. However, we become so comfortable. Like, I've been to parts of the globe that, like, my man's family's doesn't have a front door. Like, that's Jamaica. That's like not too far from here. Jamaica's not that far. Mm-hmm. We become so complacent in our comfort, which is the great maker of cowards. It's like the gym. It's, you can when you're working out by yourself, you cannot do that last rep. No one's gonna like chastise you, but you get more out of yourself if you not only do the last rep, throw some bonus footage on there. We don't ever do bonus footage like the gym anymore. We just go, I got my phone. It's room for us to complain. It's room for us to say, we don't even recognize that the media has told us they've presented cronyism as free market capitalism. So then we go, well, cronyism is bad, or people that have done vile things in the name of capitalism. Some of those, our brothers and sisters on the left, think they've been presented something that they actually haven't been thoroughly informed about, so they're looking for a different system. Then they look at, people forget, because instead of remembering the pain of socialism or the pain of communist nations, we forget. Then around every like 40 years or so, people think because you're comfortable, well, maybe we should have a different system, and they forget that the areas that they romanticize were free market places. So in the black community, right, when you start getting knowledge yourself, we start identifying with African principles. The family unit in African ideology is the main technology. Everything stems from that family unit. But then when you romanticize it, that family unit built things, like took advantage and capitalized on minerals, on sciences, on math. That is a free market for them to capitalize. We romanticize that part, not recognizing that that is actually capitalism. We take an idea and turn it into something that generates a benefit. We have become so comfortable, and that comfort, coupled with a deliberate attempt since the 20s and 30s to destabilize people through the education system, to tell them that this is what's cool.
Right.
Oh, it's a layup at that point. You got these kids that are like so-called Antifa, like bro, you live in the suburbs, bro, and there's nothing wrong with living in the suburbs. We don't need you to come to the hood to tell us what's good for us. Don't piggyback on black people's issues. You're coming in here with your comfortable life. You're never going to be harassed by police, generally. You're coming in here, you're so comfortable that you think that you can come and speak for a whole community. That comes from comfort. If that kid was in a rural area helping his dad and his mom with the baling the hay or chopping down the wood or doing actual work with like their own hands, they would be so thankful for the time that they have that everybody would be building their community. So that's where it comes from. It's a multitude of those things, but I still got to double down with, as goofy as some of those thought processes are, it's still in our brothers and sisters because media has manipulated them to think this way, you know?
Well, it's a push for what I call and what other people have said, radical political correctness.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a movement towards radical political correctness where if I'm addressing 10 people, now I'm a bad example because I'm going to offend 9 out of 10. If I'm addressing 10 people, I'm going to at least offend 1.
Yeah.
If I'm addressing 100, I'm going to offend 10.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to address 1,000, I'm going to offend 100.
Yeah.
But today, that's unacceptable. They'll cancel you.
Mm-hmm.
So we've moved as a country, not only in media, but in perception. You can never be the dissenting opinion.
Yeah.
You can never be the 12th man that says, like, you know what, maybe we should look at it like this, or maybe this issue we should consider this way. Instantly it becomes, oh my God, that's an assault rifle, or that's this, whatever the terminology is in the equation.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not a man, it's a woman. We offend people. And now offending someone has become such an offense in society
Right.
that they'll say, we got to try and cancel them.
So I'm going to say something offensive to that. That's women's fault. Women are giving like too much pussy to pussies. Like there's no world. And then it starts with women giving pussy to pussies. Then more like solid dudes fall in line with that for pussy.
Well, it's undefeated.
Right. It's pussy's
it's
undefeated.
Right.
Right.
Let's both agree on that.
So saying that to say, Aziz Ansari's prototype should never get laid. You know, like us, and I think he's funny. I'm not knocking him, right? Women give anti-gun men pussy, and they shouldn't. It creates a snowball effect. A woman, and now I realize that I'm going to sound pretty sexist and fucking ignorant right now. However, I'll break it down.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to that family structure, the woman is the first teacher. Even if she's listening and partnering with her mate, her man, the children, the offspring, recognize, okay, dad's solid. We listen to dad because mom's listening to dad. She held you in her womb for months. Mm-hmm. My point to that is, that's why in slavery times here in America, the first, the captives, the people that owned the captives, black melanated beings, they did business through the woman. We're going to isolate and potentially kill the black man, separate your source of protection.
Right.
Draw and quarter him off top, hang him, castrate him. Now we're going to do business with the women. It's not like it works. It works. What we have to do is, now men have to be responsible for reversing it. Stop being politically correct. 1, there's 2 genders. That's it. That's it. 2, everything is not racist. And you're actually letting real racism like gun control slip through the cracks. Because you're talking about what color fucking hat he had on. I don't give a shit about his fucking hat. I don't care. I don't care if he is racist. I actually like my racism out in the forefront. Oh, I don't fuck with you. You don't fuck with me. Great. Cool. the men have to course correct. The men have to, guys, you're not going to get laid maybe for like 2 years. And because you're chasing so much ass in the name of ass and not solid manhood principles, your businesses are failing. You've allowed people that look fucking horrible health-wise, that run health departments, tell you what you're supposed to do. You run around with a fucking muzzle on. We have allowed the cucks to conquer. And we got to course correct. So it started with women, and I get it. You have to be responsible to a man that you can't control. A man that isn't led by his dick has to be responsible for other things in order to get a quality woman. So the standard of quality starts to decrease. And then it becomes that ping pong. It's now up to us as men in the primarily or in the first to start course correcting. And then women will follow. There's so many women that want to get with solid men. But now they being men and women. And go on. This is what we're seeing outside.
Yeah, it's now there's very large portions of what you're saying that make total sense because the demasculization of men is a huge thing.
Yep.
And we've seen it. If you go back and you look at the last 10 or 15 years, there's been a huge movement towards this. We've seen the Gillette commercials, the fallout from that, the ability to try to take away men's inherent ability to be a man.
Right.
And to lead and to do the things. The problem is we're at a turning point. Women want all, and I'll say this, women want all these equal, right? They want everything equal. I joke with this all the time with a lot of my women friends. Just say, you want it equal.
Right.
So why don't you go out and you earn the money? Why don't you go out and you make the living? Why don't you go out? There's plenty of opportunity out there for everybody, and every man does want a strong woman.
Right.
We want that.
Right.
But the issue we run into is along the way of trying to be a strong household, a strong couple, is they want to clip our nuts off at the same time.
Yeah, and if you accept the neutering,
exactly,
that you get what the fuck you get. Listen, man, the reality is, men that are listening right now, right? If you don't have, let's say if you don't have $25,000 saved, it's not a lot of money. But if you don't have $25,000 saved, women should be the last fucking thing on your mind. And if you're in order and you got $50,000 to go on a vacation to Bora Bora or whatever, you fuck around and start it for $25,000, you'll have $250,000 before you know it, because you're not giving your money up to things that don't matter because you're chasing women. The irony is, when you do that, now women will go, this guy has his thing together. Can I add on with him? But you accepted the neutering and you got what you got. And even outside of the guys that are frustrated, right? That aren't, may not be the best looking dudes, may not be in the gym. There's not women, and they may not, even if they chased women, they wouldn't get them, right? Mm-hmm. There's ways that you've neutered yourself because you've submitted to this theory, this false, the Frankfurt school of whatever, like this theory that you being a man or you being proud to be an American, you being proud to be whatever you are, African American, white American, Italian American, Asian American, I don't give a shit, right? You've subscribed to this theory that you're going to lose friends because of a differing opinion. And if they wasn't your friends in the first place, you know how many times my friends go like, bro, what the fuck are you talking about? Some of my friends still sell heroin, right? And when I initially told them like, yo, bro, I'm not doing nothing unlawful no more. I'm doing this. They're like, bro, I love you, but you're out of your fucking mind. Now, they disagree with my pivot at that time, but they're still my friends because they're solid individuals. The lack of wanting to stand on your own because you're afraid that somebody won't be your friend, if you fall in alignment with that neutering on different levels outside of just, that, you're going to get that's your investment. and you're getting them returns on that investment. You're getting a vagina. So
I'm going to tell you when I think it all went downhill, because that's a good theory, but I go deeper.
Okay, pause.
Yeah, it's deep. So when I was a kid, growing up in Boston, I say this to people all the time because Hollywood's glamorized Boston in so many ways. Yeah. And people say, is it really like that? And I say, listen, when you grew up in the city, you were going to get in a fight. You were probably going to get picked on. You were going to get made fun of. That was part of the game.
Right.
You grew up in Philly, you get it.
Right.
It was going to happen once, no matter who you were. It didn't matter if you were the drama kid or the football kid or anything.
The test is coming.
Your test is coming.
Right.
To me, society went all downhill. So I remember a time, and I'm sure you may too, I'm a little older, but I remember a time when there wasn't cell phones.
Yeah.
But to me, it all went downhill the minute it became okay to say, I'm going to run home and call my lawyer or call my mommy. Because some things, this is what I believe, some things got to be settled in the street.
Yeah.
Some things got to be settled in the debate.
Right.
Some things got to be settled in the conversation.
Yep.
But what's going away, and this is the scariest thing for society, is the ability for some things to be settled in the debate and some things to be settled in the conversation and some things to be settled in the schoolyard. And sometimes they have to be.
Right.
And that's part of living in a democracy.
Right.
So the minute it became, no, we're going to create a bureaucracy.
Right.
Where we're going to inject a third and a fourth and a fifth person into it. No. Motherfucker, if you tell me I don't know any better and I'm just a stupid white kid, whatever the fuck, I'm a guinea, I'm a grease ball, whatever it is, and I punch you in the mouth, that's it. It's settled.
Boom.
Boom.
You stand
we
on
settle
that.
it right there.
We fight.
And it's over.
Boom.
And that inability to walk away after it's dealt with and say, yeah, we're cool. Because every guy friend I ever had growing up, and I know you can relate to this, that I've literally gotten fist fights with.
Best friends ever.
We cool.
Right.
I've had knockdown, drag out, screaming matches with some of my best friends today.
Yep.
Like you said, solid individuals. And I know they'll listen to this.
Yeah.
And they'll laugh. Because we disagree. But we can agree to disagree.
Right.
We can make our points and we can go our separate ways.
Bro, I got friends that's lefties. Hard. My anti-gun friends. I have anti-gun friends that I deliberately say, hey, man, because I'm like, yo, I'm not bringing my gun in your house because this is your house, right? And I'll make a joke, and every time I go, hey, man, if somebody kills me in your house, I'm going to kill you. That's my friend. Usually they don't stay anti-gun. These same anti-gun friends, when the pandemic thing started, when the shutdowns, because it's not a pandemic, when the shutdown started happening, they were like, yo, Maj, you know what I mean? Like, so this gun thing, you know what I'm saying? And so it's like, they don't stay anti-gun for long, but they're going to be my friends forever. Right. Forever. Fights, argue, disagree, whatever. But again, that's where, because I don't want it, to get, I'll deal with whatever label, but I don't want an incorrect label. So that's where it's men's fault. These pencil neck dweebs that are creating policy need to be stood up to. Shouts to my man Ian over there at Attila's Gym in Jersey. Mm-hmm. Fucking Murphy telling him that he can't run his business. I bet not. You don't want strong men in the gym lifting weights and shooting guns. I bet you don't. I bet you all of these. That's why the chick almost got the plot to kidnap the chick over in Michigan, right? Because people are tired. Politicians need to know their place. You are a public servant. I am a public servant. Black Guns Matter. I'm the point guard. I don't have to score. We are going to win the championship. I serve the people. We raised over $370,000 and gave it away. Do I want a Bentley? Sure. Could I afford a Bentley with that? Yeah. That's not what that money was for. I'm a point guard. Sheepdog. So, but that's our fault as the men. We haven't put these people in their fucking place. George and the boys, and if I as a black man can use George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Thomas Paine, when clearly there was contradictions happening with the freedom conversation at that time, especially for black folk, right? If I can use them as the point of reference, my white homies, patriots, George and the boys would be sickened disgusted with what we as a nation of men, not excluding women, but just specifically speaking to the men, they will be disgusted with where we are. Like, this is a fucking atrocity. Like, California, they're giving up 40% of their bread in taxes.
More.
Those are conservative estimates. We allowed it, and they keep testing and seeing how far they could go.
The hard part is when these people move because they're sick of it, they still vote the same.
Yep.
That's the biggest problem going on right now.
But where are the men that say, yo, welcome to the great state of Texas, motherfucker? Don't bring that California. It's like Tony Soprano. I don't want any of that California bullshit. That's what it's supposed to be. I don't want any of that California bullshit here. Let me take you to the range. Let me take you to the gym. Let me show you how to court and respect women. Let me show you how to be firm. It's almost like there needs to be like a man etiquette school in every red state across the country.
And now they're trying to implement that gender norming, or whatever you want to call it, that PC norming, right? Into
wait, what is that? That's the I can't keep up.
Gender neutral.
Yeah, so they're trying to, so they want to put this thing in place that's with law enforcement agencies and with government employees. I forget what it's called. It's called something. Maybe you can look it up over there. It's called something. It's like they make you go through like almost a sensitivity training, right?
Okay.
So they're trying to acclimate you to what's the new society. Oh, you have to understand that. You don't understand Maj. He identifies as
an airplane.
And it.
It's called gender-sensitive policing.
Gender-sensitive policing.
Okay, so here's the loop in that. So if the transgender woman that used to be a man is trying to stab the shit out of you as the law enforcement officer, what's the sensitivity level for, like, how do you?
What it is a push to move society towards what I call PC norming, right? An adjustment. So you talk about neutering.
Yeah.
And there's a huge push in society right now. All the left has to do is eradicate Fox News, which they're going to do. They're going to get to it, to where they control all the message coming out. And in controlling all the message and then normalizing the society to understand the new normal, which the new normal is, oh, but we have to understand he wants to use the women's room. And that's okay. And we have to be sensitive to that.
I'm cool with gender neutral bathrooms in your house. They're all gender neutral in your house. You gotta take a shit? Go ahead. I'm cool with that in your crib. Outside though, like,
well, you know this, it'll never work. And the reason and this is the problem with the left's argument. It'll never work because at the end of the day, what's going to happen, see, there's one thing, like I talked about a couple of foundation things that will never change.
Yeah.
You buy a gun, a switch goes off in your head.
Yep.
9 out of 10 people, 10 out of 10 people are very slow to give that right back.
Yep.
That's fact.
Yep.
Okay? And nobody buys one.
Right.
They buy 3.2, whatever the number is.
The first one's the gateway.
The gateway.
Right.
There's also another factor in that. This society will never be okay with pedophilia.
No.
It will never be okay. It's too widely condemned.
Right.
It's too widely accepted as an atrocity, as
Right.
it should be.
Right.
And it's going to continue to be. So the problem they're going to run into with that is you do gender norming bathrooms across the spectrum.
The murder rate going up.
Murder rate goes up. Kidnapping rate goes up. Abuse rate goes up. Your little daughter or son goes in there and some weirdo says, let me, touch them or do something inappropriate. They come out. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Poof, that all goes away in 30 seconds.
Right.
Because no one is going to be out in front of that dumpster fire.
Right.
And that's what that's going to turn into.
Right.
So to me, that's a very terrible hill to die on if I'm the left.
Right.
That's a horrible hill to die on. So there are huge flaws in the left's push to this type of gender norming and this type of rebalancing or repositioning of what I call, like I said, radical political correctness. It's going to cause huge angst for them because there's too many flaws in it.
Wait, isn't that so? That's like the stuff that I saw a clip of Biden saying, like it was like the question was, I don't know where it was. I only watched one of the debates, the last one, right? When he was saying something about if the person was an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old and they felt like they wanted to transition, then there should be no resistance to them transitioning into being a girl if they're a boy. That's like that type of shit.
Yeah.
So you're right. I have a 4-year-old. Hey, Maya. I will beat you until I break my hands if that type of shit goes down. I don't know what their plan or strategy. I see the play, like I got gay homies, right? As adults. Like, yo, lesbians are fucking awesome to me. I actually am a lesbian myself. You know what I mean? I got gay friends that are like homosexual dudes. They know, this is going to sound whatever. They know where all of the cool fashions are. They know where all of the restaurants are. And they're who they are as adults. When that starts to transition into, we're going to make the new norm pedophilia. We're going to make the new norm. I'll call you whatever you want to be called. But if you ask me, you know, hey, Maj, I'm actually a helicopter. I identify as a helicopter. If you ask me, hey, if I jump off of a plane, bro, you're not going to fly.
Right.
Just, I'll call you Helly. If you want to be called Helly, what's up, Helly? I have no problem with that. That's freedom. You have the choice to identify yourself as whatever you want. I have the freedom to say, I respect your choice. Freedom cut both ways. I'm not identifying as a woman, right? However, if I choose to identify, if I wanted to be, called Big Daddy Toure, and that's my new...
I like that.
It's a good one, right? That's my new moniker. That's what you're calling me, right?
Steal that.
Yeah, use it. It's a good one. Now, that doesn't mean I'm 6'5", 300 pounds. That's just not reality. When that line starts to spill between individual choice and liberty, even if I disagree with it, but still will respect it, when that spills into delusion, people have to stand up and go, that part is not accurate. Otherwise, you're going to get the shit show. I don't see how they're going to pull that off. To your point, I don't.
Well, this whole so it's like communism, right? Or socialism, right? People always say socialism works in theory, right? And I always come back and say, where does it work in theory?
For like 2 weeks?
So no. Well, here's the bigger problem. When does it work? Does socialism work when you have to wait in line for bread? Does socialism work when you have to wait in line for water? Does it work when you have to wait in line to get a check?
Yeah.
At what point, so it becomes a moving line.
Yeah.
Now, we can have the debate, and there's been some great compelling arguments for a national salary or pay structure or whatever. And there are states that have that. Alaska has that. There's areas that have that, where people can draw some level of an income. Now, you can make the debate all day that encroaches on capitalism versus giving people a subsidy versus whatever. Mm-hmm. And there are compelling debates on that.
Right.
And actually, Republicans are very open to that because there are states that have different subsidies where that's a possibility. Farming gets a subsidy.
Right.
Okay? Oil-rich states where people farm oil even off their own property, they get a subsidy.
Right.
So there's the ability to begin to have that conversation.
Right.
Okay? Now, the problem you run into when you move aggressively into areas of socialism or Marxism is you're making a bet. It's kind of like we talked about earlier, betting on how much someone's willing to swipe down on Instagram.
Yeah.
You're making a bet based on how long someone's willing to wait in line for bread before they freak out.
Right.
So in a capitalistic society, you want something, you go out and you get it. And you hustle and you work and you make it happen.
Right.
So it gives people the opportunity to do anything that you want. Your daughter wants to grow up and become an astronaut. She can work hard and go and become an astronaut.
Right.
So it gives people an equal opportunity from the standpoint of growth.
Right.
Okay? We all start at 0. We all have the ability to hit X. You can make the debate all day long about if you're white, if you're this, if you're that, you're able to have an advantage. Okay, but that exists in everything, so we can have that debate till we're dead. If I grow up in the South, I probably have a better chance to do some good deep sea fishing too.
Right.
Common sense. So it all comes down to what you're trying to accomplish as a society and what you're trying to accomplish as a group of people. When we elect individuals into office, okay? I say this all the time on the show. Everybody in here has heard me say it 50 times. These people achieve a certain level of power and influence.
Right.
And the problem you run into is power and influence leads to a hunger for money and fame.
Right.
Most people never achieve all three.
Right.
Okay? But they're always chasing those things. If you have fame, you want the money.
Right.
If you have the money, you want the fame. If you have the fame, you want power. If you have power, you want money and fame. So it becomes this tangled web. So what you have at the political levels is the politics has become a place where we go and we do X amount of years and we become institutionalized. And we want to give in to all and satisfy and make right all these people. Nobody wants to step up and hurt anyone's feelings.
Right.
Biden's a great example. Biden gets up there and he says, we're going to do away with fracking. There's no fracking. Okay? Why does he say that? Because he's trying to cater to his left.
Right.
His hard left.
It's the fucking SpongeBob.
Then-
4 hours later. Right.
You know, I think Ferris Bueller 9 times. So then he gets up there in front of a global audience where he knows he's talking to Pennsylvania. He knows he's talking to Ohio. Says, I never said that.
Pull up the tape.
Now, even if we took him out of context, right? Let's say we took him out of context. Even if we did, your vice president got up there and literally recently and said, we're going to do away with fracking.
Right.
So there's a disconnect in what you're preaching. And it's become okay to just say, I didn't say that. There's no more calling out. There's no more the ability to people. My biggest issue with Biden, I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to shock a lot of people. I said this after the debate. You know what my biggest issue with him is? Have the humility, motherfucker, to say up there, hey, earlier I said this.
Yeah.
But I looked at it. I'm adjusting my position on it.
Bam.
There is no humility. Look at Nancy Pelosi. She gets caught with no mask on getting her hair done, right?
It was a setup. They set me up.
She doesn't come out and say, hey, contrite. Listen, I booked an appointment. It was a private one-on-one appointment. She could have said, I got tested the week before, the person, anything. Instead, it was a setup. It was a fix. It was this. It was that. There was a gun to my head to go get my perm.
Right.
Whatever it is she gets.
Right.
Women don't get perms anymore, do they?
No,
There's
they do.
more perms.
It's like a thing.
Perms?
It's a thing.
Yeah, I don't get
See,
perms.
but that speaks to the level of arrogance and not being honest. So when we talk about socialism, right? America, when you have a mixed economy, we have forms of socialism.
Of course.
So for example, Black Guns Matter. Everything was paid for by the people voluntarily. That is a collective people putting together for some people donating like, yo, man, you might not even come to my town, but I think it's dope what y'all are doing, right? That is a form of you volunteered. The government didn't through threat of force. If you don't pay these taxes, we're going to come send somebody with guns to come take you to jail, right? So that's, if I'm a super rich dude and I go, man, that community that I grew up in needs a little bit of help. Philanthropy. So that's a form of social, help people to maneuver up, but it's not a caste. It's a
It's a voluntary.
Bam. And let me give you this little boost for a second. While I'm showing you, here's the EIN number, here's how you get an LLC, here's
Angel
how you
funding,
get,
yep.
right, those types of things. If we're honest about that, we don't create those extremes because we recognize that we're a mixed economy. You can't say, and this is where my hard right, freedom-loving folks, I get on them a little bit because it's like, bro, don't go so hard against socialism, right? I'm talking about politicians. When you guys got nice and nonpartisan and bipartisan when it was time for that $3 trillion in socialism dollars. I know one politician, my friend Thomas Massey, that said, no, I'm not voting in this in secret. That was the single largest wealth transfer in American history. Now, if we can be honest about it as politicians and say, listen, guys, there's a certain level of mixed bag economy that we all aspire to free market capitalism. But you can't say that if you're practicing cronyism. The honesty and the ability to be a solid person is what's being eroded.
The problem with the cronyism, though, is the roots are buried so deep. So I have friends in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Very corrupt, manipulated city.
Yep.
Like Chicago. Not as bad as Chicago.
Definitely not as bad as
Chicago's the
Philly.
worst.
Yeah.
Chicago's the worst. Philly might be right in there with Boston. And New York's right there, too. You can't get any. So I used to joke. I had a successful family member that would say, I can't do business in a town with a board because you can't buy one person.
Right.
So it's like anything else. It starts off at the base level. The liquor license business was the most corrupt business there was for 1,000 years. So to get ahead anywhere in terms of those cities and those types of urban environments, there was always that greasing of the spokes to make something happen, to get a construction job done, to get anything done. The problem you have, and I go through this with my friends back in Boston, is they're so okay, like the Biden laptop. They don't even see the problem with the buying of the influence.
Right.
And that's part of what's scary, what's terrifying. You talk about the readjustment, the radical political correctness, the norming. Is they're like, yeah, that stuff kind of happens.
Oh, it's how it is.
It's how it is. And they accept it. And I'm saying to myself, this is crazy. Not that I don't, to a degree, understand it as you do.
Yeah.
I'm sure you do. Because we work hard to get the relationships and the connections and everything else.
Right.
But at the same time, you can't have someone at the highest office that's been pointing the finger for the last year with the rest of his liberal friends saying, look at Don Jr., look at Eric, look at this one, look at this one. We're going to wave our finger at them.
Right.
And they're out there trying to make it happen and do everything right. Well, your son's off cutting side deals.
My man said he looked at him at the last debate and said, Joe, You got 3.5 million, Joe. You're the big guy. We got the emails. Something has to go up to the big guy. What's that about, Joe? Look right at him. Joe smiles. Come on. But again, we, the people, have allowed it.
Mm-hmm. And if that was a Trump, there would have been a congressional hearing. There would have been 17 subpoenas. And everybody would have been called in.
Bro, $48 million and 3 years later. Listen, like you said, if I spend $1 million on you, I'm pretty sure I could find some dirt, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all spent $48 million, not y'all money, again.
And they harp on, so the thing is that's terrifying is they come back and they say, well, Trump's tax returns. He doesn't have to release them. At the end of the day, he does not have to release them. And listen, we can debate all day as to the why for that. And I'm going to tell you exactly what the why is. He might not be worth $5 billion, which Forbes publishes. Maybe it's $1 billion. There's a little bit of ego in there. You're jockeying around. But he doesn't have to release them.
First of all, taxation is theft. That's number one. Going into another man's pocket. That's robbery. Now, again, we talked earlier about these things that show up, and we say, these are temporary. The IRS was supposed to be temporary. Now we're getting into these other areas of freedom and liberty, and
that's another podcast.
That's a whole nother podcast. With that being the case, okay, let's go with we only paid $750. That's like a filing fee, bro. Shut up. And let's not talk about as a company the millions upon, like he says, millions and millions of dollars. Before we even get to job creation, let's talk about the millions in dollars that are prepaid in taxes. And I don't care if he had let's say he only did spend $750. I don't care. The government is not the best example of doing the right thing with Americans' money. And
here's the question I put back on some of my Democratic friends. What's a good number for him to pay in taxes? $1 million? 5? 10?
They never know.
100? So if he pays $100 million in, does that make him a better person?
I still wouldn't like him.
On the spectrum of what's right and wrong.
Right.
Right? Let's talk about that for a second. Is it wrong that he spent $750? Let's say he just spent $750 in taxes.
Yeah.
Does that make him smart or stupid? Probably smart.
Right.
Right? Does it make it okay now that Hunter Biden took $3.5 million?
Right. And that's the part that's
terrifying.
It's
terrifying.
And I generally try not to do like a comparative as a deflection. But come on, bro. We got to look at both of these. You can't say you're harping at this person for this, but this person is using their political position to influence. Bro, you had no experience in Ukraine, whatever, gas, oil. I don't care. Somehow you're getting this job because of positioning.
Well, clearly, yeah.
Clearly.
They took Air Force 2 there, clearly.
You understand what I'm saying? And these are the things that, as Americans, we got to start looking at. We got to start saying, okay, cool. If we're going to throw the Trump administration, rake them over the hot coals. Okay, that's the standard. This is the standard. Somebody's going to be able to stand up to the coal raking, and some are not. But everybody goes through the coal raking. Where it becomes wrong for me is we're only raking one side of the aisle. Everybody got to get the raking. But if there's $3.5 million that falls out of the sky, if there's a laptop floating around that he's from hell, that he's allegedly, I'll throw that out there, allegedly doing all kind of weirdo pedophile shit in the hard drive, we have to have that conversation. This is, again, where I'm going to piss America off. He will not even be charged. Where's Anthony? Didn't Anthony Weiner, didn't they have his laptop?
So that's what they compared it to. Part of the issue right now going on at the high levels is figuring out what those charges look like, right? What that could be. And I talked to some friends, as I'm sure you have at higher levels. If it's a pedophilia investigation, those can take 6-8 months. They can take time.
Yep.
So people were saying they had it for a year, they had it for 6 months. There was debate about how long the FBI had it. So some of those cases do take time because you can't let them slip through the cracks. There has to be a lot of forensic tie-ins, digital forensics, and some people in here can speak better on that. But it does take time to flesh those conversations out and what those charges look like. Now, a corruption charge or racketeering or embezzlement are much more severe in so many ways, and damning because of how high it reaches. I know that's hard to say, but when you get into those types of capital crimes too at those levels, the hope, this is what we hope, when you talk about not being charged, is that they were investigating it because they wanted to build an ironclad case. That's the hope. Whether or not we know that's true.
Listen, man, I have a very, at one point in my life, you ever see that movie 7 with Brad Pitt?
Yep.
Remember how Brad Pitt was all like, yeah, I want the case. I'm a detective.
Yeah.
I'm a detective. And Morgan Freeman's character's like, listen, bro.
You don't want this case.
I'm retiring. This shit is going to go on and on. He actually, when they were talking to their chief, this new kid actually shouldn't be on this case. This guy's going to keep killing. I don't want to have to deal with it. And there's a scene where Brad Pitt tells Morgan Freeman, like, yo, you're so, like, the world is fucked up. He's like, I can't believe that. I cannot believe it. I used to be Brad Pitt's character, which was, I cannot believe that this level of corruption goes unchecked. If we just do the right thing, if we just bring it right to the table, to your point, at a certain point, I started to recognize by talking to people that are well off in it, the level of corruption runs so deep, as well as we as Americans, and I'm putting myself in that boat too, we have become so soft collectively that I now am Morgan Freeman's character in regards to like the Hunter Biden laptop and other things. I do not think that young man will even be charged.
Probably not. Probably not.
And that's the part that I'm like, maybe Thanos was right. This experiment of America The founding fathers intended it for it to be like a few hundred years. Like we need to like hit the reset button.
Well, what we thought,
Yeah.
and I think you're in this boat, what we thought was electing Trump because they hated her so much, which is, part of the reason why he won. You have to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
They hated her so much.
Yeah.
We thought he would be a great 8-year reset. And we thought that would contribute to the reset. The hope in that 8 years, this is why him, Donnie, everybody became such a beacon of hope, was the hope was that we'd get national reciprocity.
Yep.
We'd get certain things would start to come and move the ball forward in a way. We'd get the Supreme Court judges.
We got some of those.
We'd get the judges back at the federal level. We got some of those.
Yeah.
He would be able to reset the economy because there's not a question in this room or in society that when it comes to the economy,
It was humming.
him, what's his face? That's his economic advisor. What's Trump's economic advisor? I forget his name. He's all those guys. They were the best guys to fix the economy.
Yeah.
There's not a freaking question about that. Larry Kudlow. Larry.
Yeah.
There's no question that when Larry came in, Trump, those pieces, they knew exactly how to fix the economy, and they did that.
Yeah.
Because you needed an outsider to come in and
Right.
do that. These guys just don't have the chops. That's why he looked at him last night. If you notice, he said, don't even talk to me about Wall Street.
Right.
Don't even talk to me.
Don't even walk down that
Don't even go down that road.
Right.
Because it was way too regulated. He dropped some of the regulation. He brought it back to a level where you could actually function.
Like kind of going in the free market capitalism direction.
So we were hoping. The hope was that we were going to get that 8-year reset. Now, when you don't have the House and the Senate, makes it a little harder.
Yeah.
The
Agreed.
hope was that we knew we weren't going to get the House till probably 2 years into his second term. That was just a real reality. We're probably going to lose seats. The hope was that we'd pick him up on the back end of his last 2 years. But then Biden comes along. And Ed brought this up. He goes, how did he gain as much steam or whatever that he gained? And I say, well, he was the lesser of all the evils.
No, and this is why we added political education to our Black Guns Matter classes. They fired up the black community to donate. They fired up, and this is where we on the right got to get better. They've been running. They are afraid. They've been running, throwing damn near every entertainer, every feel good. Now there's few shouts to 50 that was like 62% in tax. I'm out. No.
100%.
Shouts to Ice Cube that's like, yeah, I don't care about either side. Who got something for the hood? Mm-hmm. And him going like, yeah, I'll sit down with Trump. That's an honest person that's willing to stand on what they believe in. With that being the case, what happened was they got Black Lives Matter Incorporated, not the actual slogan. I believe in Black Lives Matter as a slogan, duh. But as an incorporation, as a business, they swindled black people. They sold a bunch of promises, and they funneled all of those BLM, a lot of those BLM donations through Act Blue, and he got a whole bunch of money, $700 million. My point in that is they just did what we on the right tend to not do. They already had liaisons developed in the entertainment community, and they were there. My homies that's on the right, I'm talking about my libertarian homies, my conservative homies, my Republican homies, whatever, independents, whatever. We not engaging in the community. When I started BGM, I was telling people like, yo, everybody in the gun community was like, yo, don't go to anti-gun cities. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, that's where it's needed. You're talking about areas that have big populations. That's where it's needed the most. So everybody, my right-leaning gun folks was like, don't go there. That's where the left is, and they're there for a reason.
Right.
You know? And so these were all of the things that we have to do on the right to replicate and do it better, because they got feelings and all of that, and they're good at it, and manipulation and PR. We get comfortable and complacent in our facts. Facts are cold. You've developed no rapport, no empathy with the community that actually is being exploited by the opposition. If you're not willing to be there or develop relationships with people, hello, Maj, liaisons, because the hood, rightfully so, doesn't initially trust you. We don't fucking know you. You've never been here. We the mob. Is anybody co-signing for you? No. We on the right have to get better at that. I think that Trump's star appeal and his charisma and his, bro, I don't give a fuck. I'm rich. If I win, I win. If I don't, I don't. But I've been saying since the 80s that I care about America type thing. I think most Americans, even dudes on the left, it's become more politically accepted for the black community to say, yeah, I think I'm going to ride with Trump on this go around. One, because now it's, well, First Step Act. Well, the 500 to, HBCUs, to this, to that, to this. These are facts that go along with, these facts are in alignment with something that happened. Now, I give this administration serious pushback when it comes to the Second Amendment, because we did have the House and the Senate when that Hearing Protection Act was up. We did. The timing was perfect. Don Jr., his relationship with Silence & Co., the Hearing Protection Act, it's an integrated gun. It was a layup. We dropped the ball there. So I'm objective. I'm going to give them kudos, but I'm also going to get a critique. You know what I'm saying? And so what we have to learn from that is we got to be just as engaged. If the Trump administration, not just the Trump administration, if the right is not now reaching out to every urban influencer that we know you're actually right-leaning, you're just not out.
Right.
If you don't learn from that and then start doing that, because it's almost like making the path for you itself right now. Ice Cube and 50 Cent and Kanye West have took a lot of those lumps early on, and we have to get on board in that regard. Because otherwise, Joe Biden's got a lot of money off of the black community.
I like that, and I think for whatever reason, the black community has always been drawn to Joe Biden. I don't know the reason. I can't even venture to guess.
Because of the association with Obama.
Right.
That motherfucker was smooth. Obama's one of my favorite presidents, not policy-wise. That motherfucker was smooth. He was locking a gang of black people up. You didn't know it. Everything that he campaigned, against with W, he did the exact same thing.
I liken Obama to Clinton in that he had one of the slickest paths to the presidency of anyone ever.
Yeah.
Okay? Clinton was very slick in that he was an Arkansas Democrat.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So we joke in New England, we have what's called limousine liberals. They're not quite the same liberals that you're used to. They're a little different.
Right.
They're Kennedy-level liberals.
Right.
They ride in limos. They're all right. Trust me.
Right.
Charlie Baker's the governor of Massachusetts. He's a Republican, kind of.
Republican light.
Yeah, light. Right. But you go north of Boston, you get into New Hampshire, Vermont, areas of Vermont, especially Maine. It gets very right-leaning very quick, especially in New Hampshire, live free or die. It's in the state motto. Now you go south of Boston, you start to get into Connecticut, you get those Lieberman liberals, you start dripping a little more south, it gets different in Virginia, it starts to change. So it's these elected officials all have very clear lines in how they approach things. Clinton didn't, and neither did Obama to an extent.
Right.
Obama was a great speaker.
Yep.
He was awesome in a crowd.
Yep.
He could win people over, and he needed Biden for many reasons. He needed that established East Coast politician to run with him to solidify the East Coast.
He needed somebody this is going to sound harsh, so what? He needed somebody that would identify
the old white guy.
We still going to lock these motherfuckers up. Mm-hmm. Don't get it fucked up. We going to still lock them up. Your prison investments are safe with us. That's what Biden represented. Mm-hmm. It was, no. The old white money is still in the room, guys.
He used Biden to appeal to the establishment, and now Biden's trying to flip the script and appeal to the radical wing.
And that's why, let's go get Kamala.
Mm-hmm. Kamala was the best of the worst. That's how I explain it to Ed. I know through Inside Baseball that they went to everybody with that VP offer, including Michelle Obama. Everybody was on the list. Kamala was like 10 down the list. Don't get it fucked up.
Yeah.
She was 10 down the list. Now, what happened was they look and they try to check boxes. I talked about this in the last podcast. And Kamala checked enough of those boxes that it made sense out of everybody who ran, who had national recognition, and she could solidify California.
And she still represents, again, the prison industrial complex. For us to be the land of the free, we locking a lot of motherfuckers up. She represented, we're going to keep them in line. Mm-hmm. We want the slave labor. And she's the top cop, which is so ironic because the left is anti-cop, 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 and this is who y'all are championing. It's 2020 has been opposite year.
Well, the left is figuring out that the guns are not the hill to die on.
Yeah.
They're figuring that out.
Yeah.
They're realizing don't bring that up till you get in.
Right.
They're learning that. The last 6 months, how often have you heard about guns? Especially
with that Supreme Court looking as stacked as it's looking.
Yeah, they're going to have a hard time getting anything through that's going to radically reform that. Now, I disagree with the Suppressor Act.
Okay.
Not to you, but I talked to Greg Stube about that. He's been on the show, the representative. I thought they should have went for national reciprocity. Mm-hmm. That was the time to go for the jugular.
Yeah.
Not for a carve-out, which is what that was. That was a carve-out.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go for this. And the problem is people don't really understand suppressors, so there's a whole education that has to come along with that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was a bad hill to die on and a bad push to make. Start with national reciprocity. That's what everybody wants.
Right.
If you said to me on the spectrum of what's important, national reciprocity or the Hearing Act, what would you want?
Absolutely national reciprocity. And me as a person that believes in constitutional carry, because I think that all of them are infringements. However, based on where we are right now and to your point of educating people about a suppressor, they think it sounds like birds chirping. Hollywood's done its job, right? So in that sense, yes. And I can sell national carry to anti-gunners just as simply. I say, as the pro-gun dude that lefties listen to, that's like, no, I don't want you to have a gun if you don't want one. I just want people that have their guns, just like you're a safe driver and your license to drive is safe, you're safe and responsible. I can package that much. It's far less money to educate that consumer on national carry reciprocity.
Then the problem you get into with national reciprocity is then how do you deal with city ordinances, right? So at a city level, you have like City of Boston, you can only have 10 rounds, okay? New York, you can't have a gun. So you have to come out with a law that supersedes ordinances. So it becomes a little sticky in that sense where you have to just create a blanket law that if you have a concealed carry permit in your state, it is then recognized in every other state. Otherwise, you have to go out and you have to get Florida and Utah and this one and that one to be able to carry in about 40 some odd states. And in most states, I will say this, in most states, if you're passing through and you have 97 permits, they're pretty decent, knock on wood, about that. Now, I think where it gets ridiculous and why national reciprocity is a great argument to make is you get a lot of people that they get laid over in an airport.
Right.
What do you do?
Right.
Now you're committing a crime if you take your gun off the belt.
Right.
You have to go through a whole rigmarole.
Yeah.
It's a pain in the ass. If you're driving through a state, you have to from, but some cops don't understand that. They don't understand the law. They don't understand what's allowed, what isn't allowed. But what if you get tired behind the wheel and you want to sleep? Can you stop? Can you sleep? It starts to get dicey.
See, that lesson there for the gun community, all day. But where my interest lies is, just like we made black people the largest new group of gun owners with the work, my interest is I want that new blood pumped into the muscle. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to explain this so simply. Yeah, man, safety works. We've the biggest atrocities have been committed in the name of safety, right? So safety to a person that's a beginner or that is completely oblivious to the actual facts. I go, nah, man, I just want that gun owner to be able to be safe in all of those states. I say that magic word, they go, oh, well, that I'm just reusing the whole common sense gun argument back against the left.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Now, again, to your point, suppressors, silencer, suppressor, I got to have that conversation with him. Then I got to go, not only bad guys have suppressors. You know what I mean?
Very few crimes are ever committed. So
Right. Then you got
low, single digits.
And in their mind, they're like,
and most of those are hunting accidents.
right. So it's like it's a harder argument to get a beginner in regards to, do I want to have this conversation with them about suppressors and silencers, and or do I want to have a conversation with them about being safe? Because, man, listen, right now, if that would have been pushed because of all of the shutdowns and you're responsible because of all of the new gun owners, now that's still a push for us to try to reignite that conversation on national carry.
I think national carry is the way to go.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason I'm sour on the Silencer Act is because, and the Hearing Act is because I think that was a carve out. And I think it was. I think the better push would have been time, equity, and energy spent into putting national reciprocity on the table.
Yeah.
And I brought that up to Representative Stube when he was on the show, and I think that was the better way to go. The problem is you have to get so many people to step up, to co-sign it, to push it, and you need the right people to make it happen across the board. I think now is a great time to clean up all those laws and do that. And I think the conversation is really simple. You bring up safety and you bring up good points. I bring up this. Simplicity.
Yeah.
If I commit a crime with a gun, it's still a crime.
Right.
But if I'm allowed to carry it, okay, I'm less apt to be
the bad guy.
To be hit with what I call like crimes of ignorance.
Yeah. Okay.
Like picking the gun up off the belt. What the fuck? Like, you know,
right.
Now I committed a crime?
Right.
It's a crime of ignorance.
Right.
Nobody even knows or can explain half of those laws.
Right.
I can't.
Right.
And I'm pretty well versed in a lot of stuff.
I break a lot of them on purpose. I carry in Chicago. And this is to the internet world that's listening. My situation may be a little bit different than yours. You find out your level of whatever's good for you. For me, I think that there's thousands of lawyers across the country that if I caught carrying a firearm unlawfully in Chicago, first of all, I'm not going to Chicago without a gun. That's not happening, right? And I stand on what I say. The rules are arbitrary. They don't make Americans safer. They're unconstitutional. And I'm willing to fight that case all the way up to the state Supreme Court as we're getting more pro two-way judges in the Supreme Court of the United States, right? But I also have 1,000 lawyers that are salivating if I caught a case like that. Because they would be like, absolutely, that's going to set precedent. Everybody doesn't have that same level of access. You know what I'm saying? And I also think that another area where we could push back is we need to get felons that have done, especially nonviolent felons that have done their time. They've come home. Y'all goofies on the left want to give them their rights restored to vote, but you don't want to give them their rights restored to protect their life in these same cities. So I think felons need to organize. Just as much energy as we're seeing the radical left break shit and protest, even if it's a peaceful protest, most of them aren't. But if felons would be willing to say, hey, we're going to boycott, we're going to organize because we need our rights restored. That's another voting block for us too.
The conversation comes down to responsibility. So when you issue a gun permit, a lot of people don't know this. A permit gets issued by the state.
Right.
It gets decided upon by the local sheriff or chief. And you have to take a class given by usually a civilian or a former Leo or former mill guy that issues you a piece of paper.
Right.
So who wants the responsibility? Nobody.
Right.
Right? So the responsibility gets sparsed off across so many different planes. Through national reciprocity, it cleans a lot of that up.
Yes.
You can say it's a class. You can say it's a right. You can say whatever you want. But I don't think there's a lot of people. It comes down to, in politics, as you know, what you're willing to concede.
Yeah.
So if we're willing to concede, hey, everyone's going to take a safety class. And you get national reciprocity.
Now,
where's the line? What are you willing to concede to get? Because that's what it comes down to. That's going to be the trade.
So if someone's asking me that question,
knowing the system we're in, that you got to give to get.
Knowing the system we're in, the example that I'll use is in Philly, there's a bunch of Antifa BLM people they did a stage. They took over a whole public park. Took it. Shut the street down. Like what is those guys in Portland? Like one of those things. Their argument, there was no rioting.
It's basically domestic terrorism.
Right, but there was no rioting though. Right? They didn't do any of that. They just were like, hey, we're here. We're just this
is ours.
Boom. And they said, we need equal housing. They've been there since like February, March. A few weeks ago, city government gave them 50 houses, like abandoned. They're going to work and fix them up. Now, I like if they're abandoned, they're blights. Okay, fix them up, hook them up. What I learned from that was that's American as apple pie. It's rebellion. I may not agree with it. So, but they actually got something. They got what their intended goal was. So back with that thought process, now someone asks me, Maj, what are you willing to concede for national carry reciprocity? I think we've been conceding. That's why we're in this fucking place. Fuck conceding. I think politicians should be afraid more. I think that the Second Amendment is very fucking clear. I think that all of these 20,000, and that's just me, I think that all of these 20,000 rules, I think they're not okay. I think we need to boycott maybe Walmart. Since everybody wants to, the monopoly of force and the monopoly of boycotts, why are we conceding all of that to the left? I think that we are right, literally and figuratively. I think that we have the supreme law of the land on our side, the actual documents that is the guiding principle of our nation is very clear. And then some states like mine in Pennsylvania, it's even more clear. Ours, Article 1, Section 21 is the right of the people, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be questioned. Fuck conceding anything else. There's going to be pain involved. Some of you are going to go to jail. I think that some of our billionaires and trillionaires that are conservative need to step up. We need to create a fund for if you catch a case, we're going to help you with Firearms Policy Coalition or something like that. Gun Owners of America. You know, where if you catch a case, we're going to help you fight that and take it all the way up to the Supreme Court of America. And by pushing all of these cases through, at a certain point, we haven't seen a Supreme Court gun case since what, DC versus Heller? Outside of Rhonda Ezel's two federal cases. I think that it's time to push back. Now, in a practical sense, to your question, I get the...
Well, the California MAG case is probably the one that's climbing the ladder the fast. Yeah,
right.
Probably the most recent
and we didn't
high profile.
We didn't concede that. I think that, I think the overreach, they just keep trying it. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to punch a bully in the mouth. And I think that logically, I get from the perspective of, hey, would you be willing to? Now me, I'm going to pass the safety course. Like, come on. What are y'all, the people giving the course don't even know what they're talking about. You know what I'm saying? So like, all right, I'll pass the course. But I'm scared of the precedents that are set when we keep giving them inches.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Inches become miles.
Right.
I agree with that. It's a very tight rope. It's a very tight rope.
Yeah.
And it becomes even tighter. See, that's why I didn't like the half measure of the Hearing Act.
Right. Because like you said, it's a carve out.
It's a carve out.
And we know you guys put it in there.
Yeah, it's a carve out. And to me, carve outs never work.
Yeah.
Because what happens is then they can chip back a little bit. Well, it's for hunting only, or it's for this, or it's for that.
We gave you fucking, what else do you want? Freedom?
So I didn't like that from the jump street.
Yeah.
I agree that it was an opportunity that could have led to other things and could have opened doors, but it was a carve-out.
Yeah.
I think if we get the House and the Senate back, to your point of being aggressive and punching you got to go all the way.
Yeah.
That you and I agree with. You got to go all the way.
Yeah.
Go for the national reciprocity.
Yeah.
Start the conversation.
Right.
Now, if the conversation led to, like I said, a class.
Now, if the conversation,
I'm willing to have that talk.
I am. I'm gonna be 100. If the conversation for national carry reciprocity leads to a class, right? Now,
because we already have that infrastructure,
right? And you guys,
because maybe it's an NRA class,
yeah. And they tricked, right. It's like, oh, I just take the class if I already know everything, right? Now, That's not where we land and stay, because their encroachments haven't been one time. They've been incremental. So it's like when you're like, if you like shooting, like you don't get bad like in a day, you get better over time. And you get worse over time. So I'm willing, if we landed there with that conversation, I would be absolutely open to it. But I would push for us to get more, because they never. It's like that. What's that movie? Money Never Sleeps, the Wall Street movie, the second one with Gordon Gekko, right? I think that's who it was.
And the kid.
And
what's the
Shia
kid's name?
LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, LaBeouf. Right? He will not divide us. That dude, right? He asked Brolin. He asked Brolin's character. He said, you know, like, what's your number? What's like your number? And Brolin said, more. That's how I feel about our freedoms. Like, when is enough for you? Like, what's your freedom number? More. Like, all of them. You know what I mean? And so, because on the other side, their encroachments and infringements, when you go like, okay, you got the NFA. You have that. My cans, I got to give the government money so they don't come
Tax.
kill me
for
having this, right? You got, like, I can't, like, my full auto was hella expensive because it's a limited supply after the time. So
Green
you got
permit,
that.
everything, yeah.
You got all of that. I can't, like, back in the day, like, get on the catalog with, like, my grandpa and call Sears and get the gun mailed to the crib. So these are encroachments that you guys have, you kept going more and more. Now you're saying things like, well, we only want to ban semi-automatic. Well, that's every one of fucking guns. So their number is always more.
Right.
So if we have that conversation about national carry, I'll go, well, that's great. We had that conversation. We got to this and we take the test. Now let's stop being cute and let's.
The only reason I'm willing to entertain the argument of having to take a class, and I know it's controversial, is because I think that helps the teaching community, which is a huge community in our world.
I agree.
And I think that supports the teaching community.
Correct. Financially.
And if done right, it can be big for the teaching community.
I agree.
So part of me says, I see the silver lining.
Yeah. Yeah, I do, for sure. I do.
So it depends how open they are in terms of it being, take a class.
Do you think, honestly, do you think the left says, you know what, you guys took the class, let's do the national carry, even under the state, because we say, again, the numbers are on our side. Gun owners are safer. We not the criminals, we not the bad guys, right? With those facts aligning in our favor, and if we present and say, hey guys, for national carry,
do I think they'll go for it?
Yep.
So we all know how a bill becomes a law, right? We all watch
money.
That name. So how a bill becomes a law. So it comes down to in committee, right? They get in these committees, and it depends on how much of the committee you control. It depends on how much of a coalition you have behind it. So let's say you have 51 senators on your side, and you have 49 against. It comes down to what the trade-off is, because everybody has their hardliners, then you have the middle of the road. Trump's done a good job with McCarthy and with Lindsey Graham and certain people having strong coalition.
Yeah.
Okay? Because he has to. So it comes down to how much you control of that committee to get that bill out to say, we're going to have strong support behind this. Mm-hmm. And I think there will be some people that'll stand up and say, I'm with it, but there's got to be this.
Yeah.
So what this is,
yeah, I don't know what that is.
We don't, and we're not going to get that answer. I'm willing for it to be something that supports the training community. I'm willing to be behind that.
I can see that. I can see that view.
So I'm willing to support that.
Or now hear me out. We get some of our gun-toting billionaires. Let's lobby the hell out of the left. Let's grease the right palms. Let's pay to play, baby.
You got to get a left to co-sign it.
Let's pay to play. Let's get it.
The question I have for you, because I want to get to this before we run out of time.
Okay.
The black community in the firearms business is on an insane rise.
Yes.
We can debate all day if it's surpassing women. I think it's close.
Yeah.
I think it's close.
You're welcome, America.
Now, The question I have for you is, I've spent the better part of my life in media trying to service areas we don't pay attention to. We talked about this.
Yeah.
And I think the enemy of our enemy is our friend. And I think our friends are our friends. And I think that we do a terrible job as a gun community understanding that it's not just about the Navy SEAL. It's not just about the Special Forces guy. It's not just about this. We have to expand into other areas and appeal to other areas. It can't be the ads anymore because the marketing to me is everything.
Right.
It can't be the ads can't be anymore the guy in the 511 BDUs shooting. That's not real. That's not a real gun owner.
Right.
Sorry. It's not what reality is anymore in 2020.
Right.
What do you want to see out of these firearms companies to support the black community? If you had to pick one or two things, I mean, I know there's 100.
So 2, I'll go with 2. 1, yo, man. So I'll say the story adding to 1. When we do classes in different cities, I bring an instructor from that city. Not only does that instructor, is he or she available to that community, because I'm going to leave. I'm going to go to the next city. That's consistent help, right? So that's 1. 2, that person usually knows the community. They know what street there's a camaraderie that's there. Yeah. Oh, on 18th Street and everybody laughs because they have an understanding of that culture. It's local.
You're just putting the gas on the match.
Yep. Saying that to say these companies, you don't know what the fuck you're doing in urban America. Build relationships and liaisons with people that are pro-gun, that recognize that culture. To steal your term, the value in that instead of, like you said, looking at that just the initial, what's the return on investment, the value overall long-term as we're seeing it. Mm-hmm. I arrogantly made a joke, thank you, America. But on a humble tip, like it was a lot of people that started to take on to, yo, we should do this in urban America. And when you say urban, you guys, media, it's black. That's what that means. So that's 1. Develop the relationships with people that speak the language and know what you don't fucking know. I'm not talking to people in our basic entry-level class. This is the second part. I'm not talking to them about, we're not getting to melanite coding or twist rates or the Coriolis effect. Brother, we're talking about safety, conflict resolution, and stance, grip, sight alignment, sight picture for beginners.
Yeah, that's a bigger problem in firearms marketing that we talked about. Firearms marketing right now, people think, and everybody in this room can comment on it, people think we give a shit when they walk up to the booth and they go, and I joke about this on the show all the time, but the rail is 0.3 lighter, Maj. Nobody cares.
No one gives a fuck.
We all know, listen, but we use aerospace. Ooh. I've never gone up to a booth and been wowed by, feel the tolerance. Listen.
I haven't even shot the gun.
And listen, you're talking to a firearms insider that gets it. All the barrels in the entire country are made by about 5 or 6 companies. Okay? 90% of your barrels are made with sub-MOA capabilities. Okay? Everybody's using aerospace tolerances. Everybody, it's just, to me, you're selling a spec sheet.
Right.
You're trying to sell off a spec sheet. And we all know in marketing, you don't have to be a marketing guru to understand this. Storytelling and story selling is what's going to sell you.
Right.
Why do people go out and buy a Mercedes? Because they think they're buying a piece of the rock. They think they made it.
I've made it. This is
what I got to buy. This is a Mercedes Benz.
Right.
Why do people aspire to go out and buy $1 million house? It's the symbolism. It's $1 million home. I bought $1 million home. You never hear somebody say I bought $100,000
right.
home.
It was a whole $100,000
home.
Right.
You never hear somebody say I went out and bought shoes. They're like, I went and bought Nikes.
Right.
I'm drinking a Coke.
Right.
These are all things that are branding mainstays, staples. Right. It's not a tissue. It's a Kleenex.
Right.
So I try to explain to these companies, we need to transcend. We need to start to get beyond the firearm. We get it. It goes bang.
Like they all do.
We get it. Okay? Now, stress tests and other things, those have a place.
No doubt.
They have a place. But marketing to me and marketing to the urban community and marketing to these other secular communities needs to start to take place. we don't see enough females, accomplished females, holding guns, talking about guns, articulating themselves as it pertains to their experience.
Right. Not how big my tits are.
I had Joanna in here from USCCA. She had a tremendous story.
I like tits, by the way, but just,
Every now and then, marketing at one point or another does tits.
Right. It's going to happen.
So it's going to happen. So let's dispel that rumor.
Right.
But she told about her experience,
right,
being held captive, But instead, the USCCA loves to say, but we're giving you a free pouch for your membership. They don't. That's the whole in firearms marketing.
And that
join
shit,
the NRA, you get a hat and a bag.
And none of that shit work in the hood. We don't give a fuck about your pouch. We don't give a first the fuck.
I agree with you.
We don't like, and it's like, here's the bigger value. Instead of that money that you spend on that pouch, put it into organization. Again, we have a goal of $1 million.
Community.
Right. I get it in the beginning when I was telling people in these big organizations, yo, bro, give me some money. In the beginning, I get it. You don't know what I'm going to do with the money. You're like, Maj likes Bentleys. I don't know if we just
can't trust him.
Right. Now, after some years in, it's like, no. He actually gave the money away like he said he would, right? Now it's like, okay, we need to, we're starting this initiative for this year, Q1. We're going to give away $50,000 to people in urban America that want to pay for their FFLs.
It's amazing.
Like, we're paying for it. We need companies. I got a nonprofit. Donate. Gun Owners of America and Firearms Policy Coalition gave us $25,000 each to do 10 cities each. Now, for me, my demographic, I don't got to do this hard sell. I go, yo, they gave us 25 racks. They gave us 25 racks. The hood go, damn, Brownells is responsible for the RV tour.
I like Pete.
Pete is my man.
I like Pete. He puts his money where his mouth is.
Off top. I called Pete, told him this. He was like, absolutely. Now, the value for Pete outside of just I'm just going to be telling everybody, yo, bro, they gave us stuff. And people are going, I had dudes in the hood say, yo, bro, I've never been camping in my life. I'm going to this website and I'm buying some damn camping shit because they got behind you. Now, is that like me trying to sell my community? No, it's, yo, we got behind someone in an organization that was doing this work that the people relate to.
Right.
These big organizations in the gun industry, we got a goal. I'm putting an open call out. I've been responsible, a good steward of the money. We have been in every major city in America doing these things. In 2016, when we did most of our classes in Philly, when we weren't on a tour, when the stats came out in 2017 for 2016, Philadelphia had the lowest violent crime that it had had since 1979. We had a slither to do with that. I haven't been home in damn near 2-3 years. Philadelphia's violent crime rate is up. Why am I saying this? There is an impact. We need those companies.
Yep. There's a huge impact.
To feed the machines that are doing the work. We the speedboat.
I got a great story around that, and the people in this room know this. I went around with this show. I offered the show to the NRA in the beginning. I said, I'll give it to you for free.
Get the fuck out of here.
I said, I'll give it for free. For free. You can air it on whatever NRA channel, whatever you want. I offered it to multiple companies. I would go to companies and I would say, you don't understand where it's going. And they said, what's your mission? I said, my mission is to put as many people in front of the gun wall, have people come on, talk about 2A issues, people that are kind of in the closet about it, that aren't coming out. UFC fighters, people in the fitness industry, people in different genres, just to have conversations.
Right.
As I told you before, this was like a far-off land.
What do you mean?
Like, what do you mean? They're going to just talk about it and they're going to be okay with it. But because it wasn't a pouch to give away, or it wasn't like, they didn't understand that we need to open up the conversation. I used to explain to them, do you understand what Rogan did for MMA?
Yes.
Do you understand what he did by making MMA, mixed martial arts, a mainstream thing? We need to take this mainstream. And the way to take it mainstream is to have a casual conversation. They could not wrap their head around that the show was not going to be about the gun.
Right.
Call me a liar.
Right.
They could not wrap, everyone in this room's been in meetings, they could not wrap their head around that I wasn't going to sit there and talk about the mechanism and how it went bang. And it was like crazy to them.
Right.
And they looked at me like I had 50 heads. I said, I'll give it to you. And here's the deal. I just want your support. I want you behind it.
Right. Right.
We can talk about money later.
We'll get to it.
We'll get to it.
Right.
But let's just make this a thing, and this will be the drug. This will be the gateway.
What you did was what Arnold did for bodybuilding. Nobody wanted to talk about bodybuilding. Arnold, because everybody was in the dungeon. You know them dudes was in the dungeon. We don't talk. We just lift weights, right? Mm-hmm. Arnold, and couldn't even really he had the thickest accent in the universe, had a conversation about it, then started going further and further up, being upfront about it. You know what I mean? So what you did in essence was just, it's no different than me going I'm going to go to the areas. Listen, everybody in the hood, whether they're lawful or unlawful, there's guns there. That number of we got 100 million gun owners in America that we know of. So why not talk to those people in a safe and responsible way to get them to be safe and responsible?
And I said it for a long time, Maj. I said the firearms industry does not have a voice. All it has is an Instagram. We're going to post a picture.
Right.
There's no context. There's no story.
Right.
There's no understanding of the path.
Right.
So we can look at a picture, whether you call them a gun bunny, whatever you call them, all day long, but there's no context. We can instantly vilify that. We can make that into an evil thing. We can turn that into 100 different things. I went around to these companies and said, you don't understand. There needs to be a conversation.
Right. 100%.
It starts with a conversation, and we need to start to hit these areas that we have not serviced.
Right.
I had Jay Cutler in here, 4-time Mr. Olympia, twice, having conversations. He's very pro-gun. That's a community we haven't even touched.
Oh, my God.
The UFC, I had Valentina Shevchenko in here, a champion, UFC champion, talking about the gun culture and what it means to her. Do you know that not even one of these mainstream entities picks that up or talks about that?
Neglect is our ally. Now, I wish it wasn't from our own community.
You know why? It doesn't fit their narrative.
Right.
It doesn't fit I'm going to put a bearded guy with tattoos out there and he's going to give a pouch away.
Right. My hood going to be like, bro, where you get that fanny pack from? Fuck are you doing, bro? You know what I'm saying? It may seem repetitive to us or some of the viewers that is social media, have conversations, But like you said, they just...
Now, I'm blessed because I've had companies come in and support it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They understand it. They understand the greater mission.
It should be more.
And it should be more. Just like you're saying. I went around, I literally sat with the NRA. Jason, we met at the NRA, called me a liar. And I said, I'll give you the show. I'll give it to you. We're a Titanic. We're turning slow. John, we'll get there. I said, I'll give it to you.
You know what happens when things stay in the water for too long and can't move?
They sink.
Yep.
They sink. So I've had this conversation multiple times. Listen, how long have we gone? What are we at?
I don't know. No one knows.
What are we at?
Oh.
Listen, we went for a minute here.
All right. Yeah, we went.
We went. I want to give you the last word.
Okay.
I want you to kind of, if anybody's going to listen to anything as far as how it affects the urban community, the black community, I'll say this and I'll throw it at you. I'd like to see a couple things happen in 20. First of all, I'd love to see the election go the way we need it to, for a number of reasons. That's one. Two, I would love to see marketing departments, because to me, people say all the time, John, you harp on the marketing. It's all in the marketing.
It's everything.
Because that's where the radical political correctness comes out. That's where the underservicing of a community. I would love to see the marketing start to, we talk a lot about the women's community, but the black community needs to get its fill too. I love what some guys are doing out there. And I'm going to shout out some guys. Yourself, Tactical Carl, Black Rambo. I love what some guys are doing out there. Bringing awareness to the culture, putting the culture out there at the forefront. I'd love to see some support go that way.
Yeah.
And whatever that looks like, it has to start somewhere.
Yep.
We're all in agreement. But I'd love to see that push. And it has to go beyond Corleone Noir.
Yeah.
We both can agree on that.
Yeah.
It has to be beyond that.
I think that him, Argo J.
I love Argo J, by the way.
My guy Ken Scott from Perfectus Group. Mm-hmm. You know, my Latin, my
Argo J is one of the best guys in the business.
Yo, have you seen his Bravo Oscar yet?
Yeah, I got to get him out here.
Look, I bought the one that he took to Range Day that everybody shot, like everybody.
Spend time together. He's a great guy.
I got it. Like that rifle. It's mine. Mm-hmm. These are guys that need to have their voices highlighted. I want to also my guy Edgar Antillon over in Denver at Guns for Everyone. He's taught
for everyone, yep.
Everybody in, you know, free classes. You know, Tony Simon over in New Jersey and behind enemy lines. He does his
way
thing.
Behind enemy lines.
Yeah, the diversity shoot and Second Amendments for everyone. These are guys that I want everybody to support, get behind. Argo's working on a documentary. I'm probably going to partner with him on that doc. So, those things and those guys and women. Shouts to Trina Spells. Shouts to who's the young lady that does Van Lethea.
Yes, Van Lethea.
Shouts to those women that are instructors that are doing their thing. As far as the urban community, man, if you're listening right now, and if I'm biased because I love the work that we do. I think we have a comprehensive plan for beginners. You know, support the work, man. We got to GoFundMe. Support the work. Like, this shit costs money. You know what I'm saying? Whether you buying merch, don't buy the merch. Cool. You do. You don't, you don't. If this all falls, I can sell weed and just get millions regardless. But on a serious note, man, support the guys doing the work. Support the women doing the work in those demographics. Shameless plug, GoFundMe.com/Black Guns Matter, man. Like, we've raised and given away over $370,000.
And we'll put the link below.
Yeah.
And everything.
Yeah, that's it. Just support people doing the work for liberty, especially in those urban demographics. That's what we need.
Give a shout out to all your sponsors. Let everyone know where to find you.
Yeah, shouts to, for this next 30 cities, man, shouts to my guy, Pete Brownell. Pete is the salt of the earth. If you haven't, get your parts from Brownells, right? That's why I get a lot of my stuff. They didn't pay me to say that. It's just what it is. Gun Owners of America has been supportive. Phoenix Ammo, American-made ammo. They did not stop. The governor tried to make them stop a bunch of times. They kept pumping through this government overreach. Firearms Policy Coalition. Just the people, y'all, the people that are going to donate, that have donated. If you're taking people to the range, if you're reaching out to people that don't necessarily look like you to put them on this path, thank you. Thank you. We in this, man, and it's a small minority of people that want to control the population, and that's why they're trying to get you off your constitutional wave. You know, so that's where you guys can support, and women can support. You can follow me on all of my social media at Maj Toure, MAJTOURE. That's Facebook too, but there's a limit on my friends list. So official Black Guns Matter _ Maj Toure for Facebook. Instagram is Maj Toure, and my YouTube is youtube.com/Black Guns Matter.
And I want to say that one thing we both can agree on before we kill this is what has to happen in 2021 is all this shit of people out there. We talked about this briefly, of doxing people in the gun industry. He's paid to do an advertisement. He's not. I've said this on a few podcasts, so I'm not going to beat a dead horse. Cut the shit, everybody out there.
Right.
It's got to stop. If you think people aren't paid to do ads or do reviews, smarten the fuck up.
Right.
In plain English. And that's not the hill to die on.
Right.
I understand there's a lot of people out there that are the have-nots, or maybe they're not in the gun industry enough. You're welcome to come on the show. I'll give you some publicity.
Right,
You want to make a thing out of yourself, call me. But give me a break here.
Right.
Like, is that the hill we want to die on?
How dare you make money?
How dare, True Exodus get paid $50 to promote? Like, give me a fucking, like, that is not the fight to fight.
Listen.
Let's galvanize the community a little bit better.
Shoot better than True Exodus, then come talk to me.
That's a good point.
Then maybe we can have that conversation.
That's a good point. Listen, this was fucking awesome.
Thank you, my brother.
I appreciate it.
You, for sure.
I appreciate it. We covered everything. I want to thank all the sponsors. Head over to www.johnbartoloshow.com. I want to thank Galco Leather Holsters. I want to thank Blackwater Ammunition, Rhino Metals for the tables, Gallo Technologies for the walls behind us, and Right On Optics And shout out to Manscaped. I know I shouted them out before. And, of course, Black Guns Matter. Go check them out. We'll put the links down below. Leave a review. Appreciate everybody. I appreciate Maj for taking the time. And I'm even going to look forward to our conversations offline.
Yeah.
But we're out.
Peace.